Hi, everybody. We'll start in a couple minutes. Yeah, you're not allowed to do community posts when you're under a guideline strike. You can't do anything. So, for those of you who watch this video later, hi again, everybody. I've been on a community guideline strike for the last week because I posted about the election. Now, this was last February, like 2 days or whatever, like a week after this new policy came into existence. But because I talked about the election, um, that meant that I had to get a community guidelines right. So I went back and I deleted everything that I can think of. I think I'm going to do, if not another video, then another stream, uh, where we're going to talk about YouTube's rules on elections, which is really fascinating. You know what? Why not? Let's quickly talk about this. I don't know if I'll cut this off or not. Anyone was wondering, I'm having a good time in a new place. Winnipeg's a nice city. I'm liking it so far. Uh, my voice suddenly got very quiet. Okay. All right, I'll turn it up. Just let me know. Let's see here. No, but I like Western Canada so far. I'm gonna hopefully go see my parents at Christmas time. So what am I looking for again? What am I looking for again? All right. Let me see. Can I just copy and paste stuff? Let me see. No, I can't. No, it won't let me do that. Okay. So I'm suffering to play this game for you guys. Lately, what I've actually been getting into is I've started playing like ladder StarCraft, which I know is kind of weird because it's so much later, but I've been kind of interested in it for a while because there hasn't been too many RTSs come out lately. So I've started playing StarCraft. I've been watching a lot of videos. I'm actually having a lot of fun. I actually am winning some games. I get my ass kicked a lot of the time, but I think it is one kind of good thing about it is it kind of teaches you to lose. Um, which I think is I think if there's one thing you can from playing like ranked online games, it's to learn how to lose properly and to not get too upset and to just kind of go good luck, have fun, and if you fail, you fail, and not to like whine and cry and get upset and that kind of thing. So I think it's fun for that. I'm actually just enjoying it because there's just kind of a lot of interesting aspects to it. So we have if you I don't know if you can see this very well, but claims that fuck, I haven't updated. I have to update this at some point. Claims that widespread fraud or errors took place in any past US election. So claims that fake ballots were dumped to give one candidate enough votes to win a stake in a past U.S. presidential election. So this would apply to um, any U.S. election. So this would apply to New York was previously run by a political machine called Tammany Hall, which is the reason. The conspiracy theory reason is if you look at a lot of previous electoral maps, New York would vote different from the rest of the country. Like Republicans would win every state in the Northeast except for New York, and the conspiracy theory is because that was Tammany Hall, but you aren't allowed to say that. That is a community guideline strike. It's a community guideline strike to allege that under Jim Crow, there was any kind of voter fraud in the South, that there was fake voting or people weren't allowed to vote or that it impacted presidential elections. Saying so after the Civil War, the southern states were occupied and southern whites were not allowed to vote, but southern blacks could vote. So the Republicans basically just won every presidential election for like 20 years because they disenfranchised like half the country. But that you also cannot claim. That is also uh, that will also get you a community guideline strike according to this. Here's an interesting one. Content advancing false claims that widespread fraud, error, or glitches change the outcome of the German parliamentary elections delegitimizes the formation of the new government or the election and appointment of the next German chancellor. So it doesn't specify which Germany. It doesn't say the Federal Republic of Germany. It just says Germany. Now, it does say German parliament. It does say Bundestag, but then it goes on to say appointment of the German chancellor, and it doesn't specify. So what I'm saying is, according to YouTube, Hitler's appointment as chancellor was completely legitimate, and the elections that took place under National Socialist Germany were legitimate. Because they're saying any claim that there was fraud in widespread fraud in German elections didn't happen. So the elections they had in like 1936, where the Nazis got 99% of the vote, YouTube is claiming that was a legitimate election and that the German people supported 100%. That was legitimate and there was no fraud. So I guess based. It's funny that they list like specific countries, like they list Germany, Brazil, any past U.S. presidential election. So I just want to tell anybody who's watching this, if you come across people who are alleging these insane things like Bush stole Florida in 2000 or Republicans are trying to redistrict or any of that stuff, then please go ahead and report it. And we can keep electoral fraud off of YouTube, which is where it most definitely does not belong. These insane conspiracy theories. Let's see here. Well, now, what I find especially interesting about it is it's not just that you're banned from alleging there's fraud, you're banned from mentioning that there could be errors. So if someone like was to say, and I'm not saying this because I'm a good boy and the election had no problems with it, if you were to say that the U.S. election had problems in 2020 because of COVID and they had to change stuff, that is against the terms of service, and that will get your channel deleted on YouTube. Even if you were to take the stance that there was nothing sus, no hanky panky, there was just problems due to COVID-19, will get your channel banned. So I agree with that. I think that these specific elections were 100% free and fair. I don't know what this isn't a complete list is. I might have to mail YouTube because I was thinking that maybe like the election they had in the Ukraine with the referendums to annex those provinces to Russia, that might have been fake, but I don't want to like run across that. So as far as we can tell by YouTube standards, the elections in China are real, the elections in North Korea are real, the elections in Russia are real, the elections in the occupied part of Ukraine are real. All of these things are real. I just do what I'm told, and I just want to publicly apologize to YouTube here for alleging anything. I will never allege anything again. I'll never talk about it again. I'm going to apologize here. I might have mentioned something about the reconstructed South in the past. If anyone could find that video, I will take it down. But YouTube, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. I'm going to be a good boy from now on, who didn't do nothing. So anyways, that is an interesting perspective. What else is interesting, actually, is because YouTube has put things on my videos directing people to go to Wikipedia. So on my video about Emperor Palpatine, they put a link to a Wikipedia article on Q and how the Q conspiracy theory is wrong. So they're saying Wikipedia is a legitimate source, but if you go to Wikipedia, it will say that like the German election of 1936 was rigged. So it's very confusing. It's almost as if some intern with no grasp of the English language wrote it, but it is what it is. I am a slave to the TOS. I'm just gonna grab something that we can start. And people can say I'm being like pedantic or something, but I don't know. I don't like it when people don't word things properly and then are like, well, by any, we don't mean any. Um, any doesn't mean any. Um, past election doesn't mean past election. It's just, yeah. So, I'm playing this game for you guys because I love you guys. And I could be playing StarCraft. I could be playing Victoria 2. I could be playing something else. But we're going to play Victoria 3. And I'm going to say with this one, Paradox has reached a new level of quality and excellence. Just when you thought you couldn't be surprised by the release of a Paradox product and the state that it was in on the day that it was released, and the amount of thought and care and attention to detail and listening to the fan base and doing what they wanted, just when you thought they couldn't surprise you with that, they do surprise you, and they take it to the next level. So let's see here. We're going to start a game. So we have objectives, egalitarian society. So we can play as Africa. So we're going to go in as, I don't know, does someone in the chat want to suggest a country for me to play as? I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I could just pick a country. Oh, by the way, firstly, look at this map. Look at this beautiful map. Doesn't this look like amazing? Doesn't this look like time and care went into this? It doesn't look like they just took some uh, like I'm not gonna lie. The first time I looked at this, I thought there was a glitch, and I went back and I looked at my settings. So I thought I must have my settings on wrong. My settings must be like set to something like raw. Like, and I'm like, why is this shit like not colored in properly? This looks like something from a coloring book. Like, just looking at this makes me angry because just look how shitty this is. It doesn't even look aesthetically presentable. Okay. We're not going to do Serbia because Serbia is going to get annexed. I guess we could do Brazil. Actually, Brazil might not be bad because Brazil starts off at war. So we're going to load as Brazil. So, okay, so it loads. So, I mean, this interface is something. Um, I'm not going to lie. I feel a little bit nauseous just looking at this. Uh, I mean, just look at it. It shits for the birds. No, I gotta keep in character. This is a great game. This is a new level for Paradox. They put so much time and care into this. So let's see here. Let's see here. Let's just kind of go through it. So a lot of people, when they think Victoria, what they think about is, well, Argent, the 19th century, it's all about capitalism. It's all about industrialization. It's all about that kind of aspect of it. That's what people remember when they think about Victoria 2 and 1 is it's all about economic management and building your economy and being able to monopolize certain resources, to be able to build some better resources. Uh, oh, thanks. For some better resources, and you can economically dominate the world. Like if you're Belgium, for instance, you can actually become a great power because you have massive amounts of coal and iron, and you can produce huge amounts of steel. Germany also has that strength where it can produce a lot of steel, and then obviously with steel you can make weapons. If you get colonies, colonies are worthwhile because let's say you're I don't know France or something, and you grab Vietnam, then you can make a lot of money off of that because Vietnam has things like tea and rubber and other rare resources that aren't available in Europe. And this was also a big thing in EU4 because if you were Portugal and you did what the Portuguese did historically, you grab just like a series of ports all the way to the East Indies and you transfer the trade all the way back, you can make stupid amounts of money. As Portugal, you can make like all the same amount of money as like the rest of Europe put together just by monopolizing international trade. So what I'm saying is when we think about Victoria, we think about capitalism, about the global market. Now, what if I told you that there is no global market? That they completely removed the global market and it doesn't exist anymore? That all countries have self contained economies and there is no international trade? What if I told you that? Would you say, that really doesn't sound like something that shouldn't be or should be in a Victoria game? Well, then you'd be wrong because there's no international market anymore. Um, you can manually import goods, which doesn't tell you if you need to import them or not. And you can manually export goods, albeit you can only have a couple trade routes at a time. But no, there's no international trade. So I had loaded as Belgium, and I was making no money whatsoever, and my economy was just going to shit. You know what? And I was like, why? I'm like the world leader in steel production, and then I just looked it up, and they're like, there's no international trade. I'm like, so how are you? How the fuck are you even supposed to play this game if there's no international market? But they took it out. I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea. Um, so that's part one. So that's pretty cool. Let's see what else. They took out political ideologies. Now, most of us probably when we think of Victoria, we think that's kind of the thing that uh, we think about when we think about Victoria is political ideologies. You know, you got liberals, conservatives, communists, fascists, anarcho liberals. That's gone now. There are interest groups that have certain um, tendencies in them. Like people who are industrialists will support individualism or laissez faire, but there is no like Triple K Mafia says poor man's Europa Universalis. But Europa Universalis has more of a realistic economic simulator than Victoria 3 does. Because you can have colonies and you can trade across the world and make a lot of money. But and somebody posted something and I'm going to put it up. There's a really good meme I found that I think does a good job of kind of summarizing this. Let me see here. So yeah, there's no political ideologies anymore. That was removed from the game. The thing that most people complained about being removed from the game, which we can talk about later, is warfare. I actually don't really mind that because I personally thought that like the warfare system in Victoria sucked. So I didn't even necessarily mind that. that was never kind of the focus of it. But okay, so here's the meme that somebody. This was the review they posted, and I think we can all agree that this is hilarious. Not recommended. Warfare DLC, $29.99. Reviews mostly negative. Economy DLC, $29.99. Reviews mostly negative. DLC subscription, $5. I don't know. I thought that was pretty funny. I think that kind of summed the whole thing up. Like they did that in U4, where they had the like core ports of the game like Art of War or Common Sense or stuff that they added in later. But it wasn't that bad. Okay, so there's no political ideologies. There's no I mean, okay, so like we have shopkeepers. So you still have pops, but the pops don't have a political ideology. So I mean, that's cool. Uh, okay, we're gonna take a look. So before we actually get into the gameplay, let's see here. So when you move your mouse over something, you get spreadsheet hell. Like, look at this. Look how much this sucks. This looks like something. I don't know. This looks like something from like Hearts of Iron 2. Just these massive things pop up. So they included a feature, and I swear to God, I can't even believe this. So if you move over something, normally it pops up, and then you move your mouse away, and it goes away. If you wait a minute, then it will become permanent, and then you can move your mouse on it. So then you can do something else. I don't know. Let's try this again. Okay, so like I said, you move here, it brings up the tooltip. Move away, it goes away. Move here, wait until it finishes, and then I can move over and take a look at this directly. Um, so there's that. Let's take a look at the tech tree. The tech tree makes me want to puke. I mean, just look at this. Like, why does it have to look like this? Oh, and by the way, literacy doesn't impact your whatever it's called anymore. Literacy does not impact research speed. But like, it just doesn't look aesthetically presentable. Um, Also, it seems that they really dumbed it down. Oh boy, feminism's a technology. That's cool. Labor movement. Like I kind of remember in the old one, like you had cooler names for stuff. You had like nationalism, imperialism, and now we have stuff like cabinets. No, like researching file cabinets is actually like a thing. Urban planning, international relations. You can't have international relations unless you research a technology that allows you to have international relations. I don't. I guess just that didn't exist prior to like whenever. Okay. So I honestly don't understand how the political system works. You have these parties, and your government is like a combination of different parties. So you have to like include or exclude them. So like you can just kind of move them in and out. I'm not exactly sure how it even works. And they all, but it like it somehow seems to function. Um, I guess. Now something I actually do kind of like what they changed is the new way that you do politics. So you have a series of policies. So you go in and you can only change them if you have support from your government coalition, but you also have to have researched these things, which actually makes this so it is shit. So, like, agrarianism is something you have to research. So, if you're Japan you can't adopt agrarianism as your economic system until you research it. You have to research interventionism that never existed prior. Um, Stuff like religious schools are something you have to research, because that didn't exist before like research. Uh, but it's kind of I think the idea is not that bad. And when you're trying to get a law passed, you go through like a series of debates and stuff and events to try to get the law through. But some of these I actually think are kind of interesting, like child labor restricted, public school. That's kind of interesting. Um, there's different levels of slavery, which is kind of cool. There's a whole bunch of different voting systems. There's different army types, which is kind of neat. International trade policies. Once again, you have to research them though. Different kind of police forces. So I actually think that that's kind of interesting. There's also different tax systems, which I also think is kind of neat. Consumption, land. Like, these are some things I actually think are kind of good that we didn't have in the previous Victoria game. So I'm trying to be, like, at least somewhat fair with this. And this was also kind of interesting because you have non charity, private, public. So you actually do have, like, a pretty wide range of real world um, ideologies. You have state, church, and state, which isn't. So this actually I don't think is that bad. This doesn't make any fucking sense. This is the level of funding that you want for it. They brought back monarch power, where you have bureaucracy, authority, and influence, and you use those to do actions. Not very many actions, but to do actions. Something that I don't really understand is there is a maximum amount of money you can hold for some reason. They can only, there's only so many vaults in Brazil. You can only hold a certain amount of foreign reserves in it. And then you just can't go any higher than that. I think I'm in sandbox mode, so I think I can switch countries. Can I switch countries? Where is it? Okay, so let's, because somebody pointed this out. So let's look at the literacy rate in Africa because someone was talking about this. So the literacy rate in Night in Sokoto is 20%. That's totally the case. I think Oyo is the, yeah, 22%. Let's see here. What is it like in? Did they even have writing? In, did the Zulus even invent a written language? Well, it's 20% literacy in that country. I don't even know if they had a written language. Let's see, what else do we have? Like 18.5, 20% in the Congo. Uh, so we're supposed to believe that Egypt and the Congo had basically the same literacy rate. Let's see what the literacy rate is in Aboriginal. So I don't think the Aborigines had a written language, but somehow the literacy rate is 18% there. And the literacy rate of the British is like the British settlements is like 32 versus 18. Now, how peoples who didn't have a written language could have a literacy rate that high, I don't know. I could just be like retarded or something. So Japan had the same literacy rate as Australian Aborigines. So that's pretty. Like I didn't. I'm learning. I'm learning. I didn't know any of this stuff like actually happened. Let me see here. I'm just not sure if I'm in. I might have to go back. Um, Diplomatic lens. Okay, so there's that. What's my literacy rate is Brazil? Oh. And look at how shitty this is. So I click on this and like I want to look at Brazil. So I click like look at that. It just looks like puke. Is there just a simple button here? Okay, there we go. It takes me to Brazil. Brazil's literacy rate is 22%. So it's like the same as Africa's, I guess. So we have like encourage industry or something. Like so if I want to go and I click on Peru, what points up is what comes up is okay, I guess in this case it actually did come up. Okay, that's Peruvian market. Okay, it actually looks like it's working properly for once. Okay. Yeah, so it's just a pain to kind of bring this stuff up. Let me look at it when America. Okay, America actually has a realistic literacy rate. Okay, those actually seem more like accurate. The Sikh Empire. Is it Rajat Shah? Yeah, it's Rajat Shah. Um, Qing is just one country. Okay, that's fine. So, how diplomacy works is you declare interests in particular areas, which I don't even think was necessarily the worst idea in the world. So, when you declare an interest in an area, you can take diplomatic actions, such as declaring war in that specific area. I think what they were trying to go for was to try to have a way of giving great powers areas of influence. So, like, Great Britain would pick India, and then France might pick West Africa or something. And I kind of get where they were going with it, but it just doesn't really work or function or anything. So when you're doing diplomacy, you have to make diplomatic plays against countries, uh, and they may or may not accept it. In any country in the world is allowed, I think, to get involved in any diplomatic play from one country to another, so long as they have an interest there. So you can just have a coalition of like every European country randomly declare war on you. So let's talk about warfare because as Brazil, I start off with at war with two different countries. So I currently have two armies that are not mobilized for God knows what reason. I have one that is supposedly there, and I will tell them to defend the front, and one here who I will tell to defend the front. So there is no warfare system in this game. Warfare has been completely abstracted. So the only actions that I can take is I have generals who command an army, and I can tell them to uh, either hold the border in a defensive posture or launch an offensive. I don't think there are different soldier types. There might be. I think there's only like one soldier type. There might be slightly different ones in different eras. I have not figured out yet how to build ships. I've spent some time on it. I can't figure it out. Let's see. I'll tell these guys to raid convoys, I guess, and see if that does anything. So we have. I don't know. This is what war looks like. The front line, and as Brazil, you think I should be able to crush. How many people do these countries have? 203,000 and so 500,000 people I'm up against with a population of okay, fuck. Do you see what I mean by how shitty this interface is? So then it goes to deploy, but I want to see information. I don't think there are any shortcuts. So 4.6 million versus, and then I have to go click this again, like 500,000. So I have what, like 9 or 10 times the population. I'm not going to be able to do anything though. You'll see. So, okay, so we're mobilizing. So they're mobilized. Where is he located? So we have an advantage. Currently, it is neutral. No side has an advantage on this front. They also have the system where wars will just immediately end after a certain amount of time, regardless of who's winning, if anyone. So that's cool. Let's see. We have defend front. All right. And I'm just waiting for my conscripts to be mobilized. Okay, how do I attach them? Oh no, it's troops that general has. I just don't know where the conscripts are. Are they being? I guess they're just being randomly assigned to my generals without anything like there being any real indication of what they're doing. I don't know. Oh, there's no uncivilized countries and civilized countries. Every country in the game can build anything. So if you're playing a Sokoto at the beginning of the game, you can um, what was it again? You can build factories from the beginning of the game. So there's no distinction between Western and non-Western countries. They also have the exact same military stuff. Okay, so let me see what the two fronts are like. I'm winning on that front. On this front, I'm getting pushed back even though I have an advantage. And I'm just waiting for the rest of my conscripts to mobilize, and then I should be able to launch a counteroffensive. Hopefully. Now, once again, I don't necessarily even dislike this. Of the features that they shoved in this game, this is one that I didn't particularly mind. Because, like I said, combat wasn't very good in the previous one. And I care a lot more about the political and economic simulation factors, anyways. So that's not necessarily the end of the world. So we're mobilizing conscripts. I don't get why Brazil wouldn't have mobilized the conscripts at the beginning of it, anyways, but they didn't for some reason. So I am going to turn them on the offensive because, as you can see, my war score is going down, and I will automatically lose these wars despite having overwhelming superiority because of how long it takes to mobilize. So I guess maybe this is based off of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. I'm not sure. But, okay, it looks like I'm advancing. Somewhat. Maybe. Okay, Ragamuffin War. Let's see. Ignore it. It's pretty exciting, isn't it? It's very engaging. Promote to Major General. Okay, what does that even do? Okay, I'm promoting him. I'm going to promote him as well. Just because I can. Okay. So now I'm pushing into his territory, and he's pushing into mine. It doesn't look like I'm moving the front in his direction, despite the fact that I have a large advantage. So, I'm still going to lose this war, though. Because my war support is extremely low. And I'm just going to automatically lose, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. So I'm going to run out of war support before I can defeat him, even though I have an 81% advantage. And I'm completely and totally smashing him. So that's fun. That's good programming. Let's see here. I might win on this front though. I think last time I tried playing as Brazil, that was sealed off. Okay, so while that's happening, let's take a look at the nuts and bolts of this game, the economic simulation. And just look at this. Look at this. It shits for the birds. Urban center resources agriculture development. So we have like a trade center, government admin, paper mills, university, furniture. And then you can go in, and as you can see, it has this helpful thing that says you would make an estimated $5,000, negative $5,000 a week. So as you can see, my surplus is 10,000 pounds. So building two factories would be enough to bankrupt the entire country of Brazil. That makes sense. And it just has this for all of them. And just look at the beauty of this. Fuck, I keep forgetting. Okay. No, let me. So we have like construction, weekly construction costs, investment pools, that kind of thing. Then we just will randomly have these like rubber plantation, logging camps, fishing wharves. How many are you supposed to buy of these? I don't know. There's cash reserves, which apparently you can use. You can set it up so that they auto expand whenever they're profitable, but they expand when they're not profitable, and then your economy goes bankrupt, and you can't sell this stuff. And then you have like all these different settings you can do, like fish, simple fishing, fishing trawlers, steam trawlers, refrigeration, uh, ownership types. I mean, is any of this really necessary or interesting? Probably not. So, like, we can have producing hardwood and softwood, and then we have productivity. Then we have what transportation method we want each individual thing to use. Horse-drawn, steam donkey, chainsaws. Uh, Jeez, it's exhausting even looking at this. Maize farms. You can also have orchards or vineyards and harvesting tools, but then that has how much that costs a week. Um, and then taxes. Uh, you can have different building frames because that's something we needed. Uh, so you can switch between wooden buildings, iron frame buildings, steel frame buildings, and arc welded buildings. And I it slightly increases the speed at which they're built, but it costs exponentially more money. So we're gonna try to like build something. Um, so let's okay. So that'll be a net negative. That would be a net negative. Let's see if any of these will actually give me any money. Nope. 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 Well, I mean, if I could actually fucking export the tobacco or the bananas or the sugar or the coffee, then this would be very profitable. Because that's not how, like, the economy of Brazil works. That's not how the economy of Colombia or Nigeria or any of these countries work. None of these countries produce coffee or sugar or bananas or stuff that won't grow in the global north and trade it to them for manufactured goods. That doesn't fucking happen because we're playing Victoria 3. Even though European Universalis 4 could somehow model this and do a decently good job of it, they can't do that here. They just aren't able to do this. Um, and look at this, like there's 68 levels of arable land. What a random ass number. And then there's like shipyards. Okay. I don't know if I have any mods. Oh, it looks like YouTube just auto banned them. Okay, well, it's good for once. Um, then we have a conscription center, a barracks, a naval base, and a port. I don't know what the difference is between a naval base and a port. You have a railway. So to build things, we have to build the construction sector. Um, so building construction sector is extremely expensive. I didn't know that this was how it worked in real life, but the government just said, look, we're going to build the construction sector. We're not going to build projects that increase the size of it. We're just going to go and buy companies a bunch of like cement mixers or something. Okay, so let's look at this. So I'm at 10K a week now. So we're going to build a couple things. Okay, so we're going to build some construction capacity because we want to be able to build stuff. Okay, so although everything, I've never had a case in this game where building something increases my income. So points are provided by universities, which are extremely expensive. So a university costs 1.4 thousand pounds a week. So I could only build maybe one or two more universities, and the amount of research points they give you is minor. You need government administration to collect taxes properly, and it will just completely cripple your country. So let's see here. And then you also have actually. So another thing that would be slightly interesting in any other game is you have consumption taxes. But to do that, you need authority points. And so, like, I'm going to put a tax on services that's going to give me some extra money, I think. Okay, so we're going to build some construction. Okay, John, real name, not real name. That is true for some of the other games. Um, Victoria has always been about politics and economics, and they took that out as well. Like, look at this. This just looks so shitty compared to, like, the one in Rome Total War looks better than this. Income taxes, poll taxes. We have these graphs of over time. It's like a kid fucking playing with toy trains designed this. Like, it's actually giving me a headache just looking at this. Um, construction goods. But once again, like the warfare system in Victoria 2 is shit. So I don't that's not even my biggest issue with that. I wouldn't mind there not being a complex warfare system if they at least had the basics down, but they don't. So let's see. Can I force them to accept? Make peace. Annex. Wait, what? Annex. Why won't they agree to the peace deal? War goals. Size of gold reserves? What? Okay, but like, I just want to ask: am I like being unreasonable for saying these menus look like shit? I don't know. Like, let me know. Let me know if I'm being unfair here, if I'm like being overly critical, or I don't know. I just don't think it looks very good. We do not want to. How do I propose a peace deal? Peace deal proposed. We do not accept this peace. Okay. So there's no accept button. You have to change this to we accept this peace deal? There's no just accept or reject button. Like, why? Okay, so there we go. We won that war. Let's move this army to the southern front. Okay, so we have two armies on the southern front though. I might still lose this war because of the war support system. Okay, let's see here. It's exciting stuff. Well, look at that. University, government admin, construction sector, profit impact of expansion. You get to tell the exact amount of money that it'll cost. Government, Rio, universities are expensive, decrees. So yeah, there's no capitalists in this game, so you have to manually do everyone yourself. Okay, we accept. Okay, there we go. We won the war. The war is over. The various people have been re-put back into their place. I just still think this looks like... I find this hard to read. Maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I'm like getting old or something. But I just find this sort of thing really hard to look at. I get that the old Victoria 2 was really... and 1 was really boring. Where you just had like the tech bar... right, you can't see my hands. Like just listed one on top of each other. But I could at least tell what the fuck was going on. Like, this is a case of trying to be too clever. Like, no one cares. No one gives a shit about your fancy, like, fucking tech tree. People just want to play the fucking game. Now, one thing that's kind of interesting is technology will spread. So you will start getting some parts of the technology filled in if a neighboring country has it. Which I actually think is a cool idea because that makes sense to me. So if you're behind, then you'll get... because, I mean, that's how it works in real life. They might not have fully implemented like a train system, but you'll have some idea of how to go about it by looking at another country. Like, you may not have newspapers at the moment, but you can look at how another country's doing newspapers and it's cheaper to research. So that's okay. That's kind of interesting. Military, tech, cultures. So in this game, there is no... you know how in Victoria 2, there was different types of rebels? You had reactionary rebels, you had Jacobins, you had communists, you had fascists, and they all had different agendas. In this game, there is just radicals, and it has radicals and loyalists, and that is it. Everybody who doesn't like your government is just a radical, and everybody who likes your government is a loyalist. I find radicals will go up no matter what you do or don't do. So there's just really nothing you can do. They introduced a standard of living, which I actually think is kind of interesting, but it sucks. We have population growth. Let's see, cultures, primary culture, Brazilian, with racial segregation. I like how Mechno State is an option. Okay, actually, no, somebody needs to make... okay, this game would be 10 out of 10 if somebody made a setting for methno state. Like if it went ethno state and then above it was methno state. Maybe that can be like if you're playing as Britain and you have the Opium War, you can force China to change its citizen type to methno state. Oh boy, protective speech. You have to research a technology before you get freedom of speech. Because relatively free speech did not exist in any society historically prior to like 1880 or something. That wasn't something that existed in the 19th century. That didn't exist in Britain ever. Okay, so the methno state joke. Okay, so white nationalists or just dissident right people in general will talk about wanting to create a white ethno state. Now, the white parts of America that are like 100% white tend to be the areas where everyone's addicted to meth. So that's like Appalachia, like West Virginia, Missouri, Kansas, Tennessee, Ohio, that kind of area. So people call it the methno state because meth includes ethno. So instead of the ethno state, it's the methno state. Because generally speaking, the more Republican a state votes, the more meth people do in the state. So that is the origin of the methno state. And I just like saying methno state because it's a funny word. And I'm tired of pretending it isn't. So we have Afro Brazilians, Catholic, animist. Low market access. Low market access because I don't have any infrastructure. So drug based citizenship. No, like so the Methno state would be like a white nationalist state that would um, fund itself by selling meth. Like Gunty, yes. Ralph is an excellent example of the kind of person. So, like, the idea is it's kind of a cynical thing that the like conservative, more racist parts of the U.S. are also parts that are full of white trash people who just do meth all day, and so that the joke is the thing that they're idealizing is actually just complete shit, which is I think what the joke is supposed to be. Hudson's Bay Company. What's also confusing is parts of so if you're like Denmark, Schleswig, and like Holstein are counted as part of Denmark, but they're also puppets, so you can't build in them. Um, so I had to like go to war when I was trying to play as Denmark to retake these territories. I guess establish colony. I'm not allowed to establish colonies. I see Argentina's colonizing parts of South America. Was it still called New Granada? They hadn't changed the name to Colombia yet. Central America, Mexico, government junta. Let's see what they have. Britain is constitutional monarchy. France is. Oh, right, this is under the Orleanists. No, John. Like, you weren't here when I was talking about this. There is no trade. There is no international market. Countries don't export. All markets are strictly internal. The only way that you have international trade is if you go in here and you set up routes. Now, it doesn't tell you which routes you should set up, it gives you no direction whatsoever. So go coffee, and then I have to pick like one of the countries from this list and say I want to export coffee to the American market. But I actually can't because it takes up so much fucking bureaucracy to actually export that in practice you just can't export anything. So I'm gonna have to like goods with import demand. So I have to manually import fish. Um, I'm trying to think. I have to cancel that trade route. I don't even know how to cancel that trade route. How do I cancel it? Okay. Your own trade routes. Okay, trade revenue after tariffs. Fuck! It's so bad! Like, look at this! It's not even, like, aesthetically... like, what is this shit? Like, I can't even read this. I don't know, maybe I'm retarded. Like, look at this. How are you supposed to read this? Like, it's not 7.8. It's actually, like, 400. So how am I supposed to know that? It doesn't even like tell you what the amount of money is that you're getting. Like, and then what the fuck is this? Base price. Like, what? You have to manually do all of your international trade. And then what is this level shit? Okay, so I guess the British market, this is what's in demand on the Brit. I don't drink alcohol, so I can't go and do that, but I kind of wish I did when I'm doing this. Okay, so the Ionian Islands, these are all part of the British market. So I guess you export goods into another market, and then the countries in that market purchase the goods. That almost makes sense, kind of, but well, I mean, at least the trade in Hearts of Iron 4 works. Um, well, I've talked about this in the past, but I'm not shy about it. I suffer from bipolar disorder. Even back when I didn't know I had bipolar disorder, I knew I suffered from severe depression. So there's a history of alcoholism in my family, and I just decided when I was very young, I'm not going to drink at all. Because if I drink, I know I'm going to use it to self medicate, and I know I'm going to become an alcoholic, and I just don't want that to happen. So that's kind of more or less what I had decided. Also, I can't take it, drink on the medication I take. But yeah. Balance of power, conservative agenda, industrialization. What's the Ottoman Empire? Sultanate. Look at that beard. I don't know if you can really see it. Um, I don't think I can really make this much. But look at how shitty that model looks. And keep in mind, this I'm running this on a 2K screen on max settings. It's not as if I have a potato computer. I have a pretty good computer. And it still looks like that. Okay, Austria. He looks like he has some weird baby face. Like, what is that? None of these people even really look like what they're supposed to represent. It doesn't look like Louis Philippe. Uh, I don't know. It doesn't look like him. So yeah, like I don't have any issue. So here's my thinking on stuff like gambling and alcohol and stuff like that. If you're someone who can do these things in moderation, then fine. If you're someone who has an addictive personality or has issues, and because some people can just go to Vegas and they can say, I'm going to spend like $300 on playing poker, and they can do that, and that's fine, and they can stop. Um, a lot of people can't do that. They'll keep chasing their losses, they'll keep trying to win. So if you can go to your Friday night poker game and you have $100 to play with, great. If you're someone who can't deal with that, then you just shouldn't be doing it at all. Same thing with alcohol. I know lots of people who can just have a drink now and again, maybe have a couple, get a little tipsy, but they don't. They just do it socially, or maybe they have a glass of bourbon before bed, but they're not alcoholics. If you can't deal with that, then you just shouldn't be drinking at all. That's my take on it. I don't think that's a very controversial or weird take. You just kind of have to know your vices and be able to deal with them. The problem I have is my vice is food, and food's just a lot more accessible than alcohol or that kind of thing. Uh, okay, Victoria looks. I don't know. Like, it just looks terrible. It looks like she has like slathered in butter. Her head doesn't look proportionate to her body. I get that Victoria was not like the prettiest woman, but fuck. Look at that guy. That guy looks hardcore. Um, it looks like he's wearing a mask, doesn't it? Like it doesn't really connect properly the front and back of his head. Let me see here. Fuck, it's hard to make this bigger. Sorry, hopefully people can see this. There we go. So like it doesn't connect properly, so it looks like he's wearing a mask, like he's handsome Jack or something like this. Um that is scary. That is like some horror movie tier shit. So let's just reload. We're gonna reload as a. Oh, there's a switch country button. Okay, so we're gonna reload as the Sultanate of Oyo. So, despite being Oyo, the interface is exactly the same for Western and non-Westernized countries. If I go here, I can build food industries, furniture manufacturing, paper mills, shipyards, textile mills, tools workshops. They have access to exactly the same um, buildings as the other countries. Let me just pull this up. Okay, settings. Yeah, so like if we look here, I have it on high, anti-aliasing maxed, multi-sampling maxed. Everything is on the highest possible settings. Um, full screen, 2K, and this is what it looks like on 2K with max settings. Maybe it would look better if I turned it down. Like, look at how shitty that text looks. Like, I can't even read that text. Does that say Nancy? And then you have this, like, shitty risk, like, map. Cultures, animism, Yoruba, Fawn. The exact same tech tree. So in Victoria 2, my favorite countries to play as were Japan and the Ottoman Empire. Were my two favorite countries because both of them are in a position where they start out in kind of a unpleasant position, but they have a lot of potential to become great powers. The Ottoman Empire, just because it controls a lot of territory and it's in a good position to expand via Egypt and these various countries here. Also, the Ottoman Empire starts off as a civilized country, even if it is behind in terms of technology. And Japan becomes like a superpower pretty much as soon as it westernizes because it has massive reserves of tobacco, cotton, tea, all kinds of stuff. And it faces very little opposition in East Asia. And so you can build a colonial empire pretty easily. So those are like my favorite countries to play as, but there's no westernization mechanic anymore. So it doesn't really matter. Um, there's Prussia. I don't even know how you'd form Germany as Prussia in this game, to be honest. Belgium. Look at that head. What the fuck? Like, the models in CK2 look way better than this. Don't they? Like the CK, just the default CK2 models look incomparably better than this. They look like actual human beings. They look like real human beings. Shahdam. Impoverished. State religion, Shiite. Uh, okay, he actually doesn't look too bad. I mean, it still looks like shit, but it's not terrible. Like, what is with these reflections and, like, the shiny surfaces? It looks like someone dipped their clothing in, like, butter or something. Korea. Absolute monarchy. Was that the flag of the Tokugawa shogunate? Let me look it up. I could be right. Is that? Maybe I'm wrong. Is that? Oh no. Okay, that was the flag. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. That's all right then. Or that was one of the flags, I guess. I think they must have just adopted the rising sun after the Meiji Restoration, but yeah. So that's the review of Victoria 3. It's really bad. Really bad. I don't know like who greenlit this, who thought this was a good idea. Like looking at Steam, if you look at the reviews from this for this game, it says mixed, and mixed is a really bad place to be. Um, this took I don't even this took a really long time. So to make mixed is really bad. So for movies, if a movie gets like 70%, that means it's okay. If a video game gets 70%, that means it's complete shit. You have to basically get a mostly positive for it to be considered a good game. Mixed on Steam is really bad. Like, I would say this is much worse than Cyberpunk. Let me see here. Like, people shit on Cyberpunk, but Cyberpunk was, like, way better than this. Cyberpunk is very positive now. Maybe they fixed the various issues with it. The culture map. Okay, where's the culture map? Okay, let's see here. Russian, Siberian, Uruguayan. Is French and Octanian really different enough to justify them to be separate culture groups in France? I don't know. That just seems kind of weird to me. Um, okay, I'm gonna put up the because I took a snapshot of the reviews that someone had put up for this. Let me just give me one sec. Like, this makes me feel bad about shitting on Cyber. Well, I didn't shit on Cyberpunk that much, but like, Cyberpunk was way better than this. Like, it's not even close. Like, I think the underlying structure and idea of it wasn't bad, but it was buggy and unfinished. This, like, the fundamental idea is bad. Okay. So this is the page on Steam. Let's read these reviews. These people who gave it an 8 out of 10. Victoria 3 is the kind of game that sucks me in and doesn't let me go. Does this look like the kind of game that sucks you in? Is this the kind of game that you would sit down and play for hours? Now, the first thing I did when I started playing this was I was like, I gotta figure out how to get Victoria 2 to work. Because Victoria 2 has no interface scaling, so I had to go through and spent like half an hour fucking around with the DPI settings before I could get it to run. And it's so much better than this. Victoria 3 succeeds at rendering a tumultuous chapter in world history with a straightforward grace that educates as much as it entertains. This is educational, guys. This is education. That's why every country is exactly the same. That's why there's no westernization. That's why there's no difference in play style between, like, it is without a doubt the most beautiful game Paradox has ever made. And arguably the most welcoming for newcomers. Okay, does this look beautiful? Oh no, I have it in like a mode that looks slightly. Does this look like a thing of beauty? Does this look like the type of thing that you would put up on your wall and say, this is quality? Like, it doesn't even look like it's HD. Like, the edges are all rough and blurry. And once again, this is on max with, oh, oops, I forgot I was blocking it. Like, does this look like a thing of beauty? Does this look like any time or thought went into this? Okay, so this is beautiful. This is beautiful with these fucking like hideous boxes that pop up. I don't know, like, it doesn't look like they did anti-aliasing. I can, like, the text looks like shit too. The color contrast is garbage. Is this okay? Does this? Let's just look at this frame for a minute. Is this beautiful or user friendly? Um, does this look beautiful or does this look like friendly to a new player? How about? How the fuck do I even get here? How about this? Is this beautiful or user friendly? This stuff. Oh no, I forgot. I'm not playing as Brazil anymore. Okay. This is beautiful, guys. This is beautiful. Look at that. Look at how fucking big that is. Like, it's a fucking spreadsheet. Now, I remember when I was younger, people would complain that all of the main characters of Final Fantasy games were extremely effeminate men. And then when one of the Final Fantasy games, there was a female character, so the joke was that they had the operation and just became a female. Um, so they had the operation. It's just a spreadsheet now. Vacancies, cash reserves, weekly balance, workforce. I feel like they're making them look less African in these. Why are they wearing like Western style? I don't know. Are those? I don't know. Those don't really look like African clothing to me. I could be wrong though. Looks like Middle Eastern clothing or something. Let's see. What does the Zulu one look like? What is that? Why is her hair red? What? Huh? Let me see. Is slavery legal in my country? Uh, where's slavery? That's slavery. Okay, guys, stop the autistic discussion about the different culture groups. Okay, Circassia, is it a puppet of... Kind of looks like Robert E. Lee. If you squint hard enough. Let's see, who's the head of America at this point in time? Henry Clay. I guess that's an alternate history thing. Okay, well, I think Henry Clay could have been president. Let me see. Who else would I even know of at this point in time? I'm not that familiar with a lot of the major world leaders during this period in history. Wilhelm von Hohenzollern. Age. They have a birthday cake. Look at this modifier list. Isn't this just beauty? Anyways, guys, that's about all of this shit that I can tear. I hope you enjoyed this. Don't buy this game. Maybe in like a decade when they put in the economic system and the warfare system and the diplomacy system and everything else through paid DLC, um, then it would be good. But for the moment, it's just shit.